Welcome, scholars. In this lecture, we will learn about population and sampling in research, two fundamental concepts that play a crucial role in the research process. In the previous lecture, we discussed variables and understood how researchers study relationships between different factors. Today, we will explore how researchers select the individuals, groups, or units from whom data is collected. Whenever researchers conduct a study, they are usually interested in understanding a larger group of people, objects, institutions, or events. However, in most situations, it is not practical to collect data from every member of that group. Limitations such as time, cost, manpower, and resources make it difficult to study everyone. Therefore, researchers select a smaller group that represents the larger group. This process is known as sampling. To understand sampling properly, we must first understand the concept of population. In research, the term population does not necessarily refer to the entire population of a country. Instead, population refers to the complete group of individuals, objects, events, or units that share certain characteristics and are relevant to the research study. For example, if a researcher wants to study the academic performance of undergraduate students at a university, all undergraduate students enrolled at that university constitute the population. Similarly, if a researcher wants to investigate the job satisfaction of school teachers in a district, then all school teachers in that district form the population. The population represents the entire group about which the researcher wishes to draw conclusions. Because studying every member of the population is often difficult, researchers use sampling techniques to select a smaller but representative group. The selected subgroup is called a sample. A sample is a portion of the population chosen for detailed study. The purpose of selecting a sample is to gather information that can be used to make conclusions about the entire population. For instance, suppose a university has 10,000 students and a researcher wants to study their attitude toward online learning. Instead of surveying all 10,000 students, the researcher may select 500 students as a sample. If the sample is properly selected, the findings can provide a reliable picture of the entire student population. The process of selecting a sample from a population is known as sampling. Effective sampling allows researchers to save time, reduce costs, and conduct research efficiently while still obtaining meaningful and reliable results. An important concept related to sampling is representativeness. A good sample should accurately reflect the characteristics of the population. If the sample is not representative, the findings may be misleading. For example, if a researcher wants to study university students but selects only students from a single department, the sample may not represent the entire university population adequately. Researchers therefore pay careful attention to how samples are selected. Various sampling methods have been developed to ensure fairness, accuracy, and reliability. Sampling methods are generally divided into two broad categories: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Let us first discuss probability sampling. In probability sampling, every member of the population has a known and usually equal chance of being selected. Because selection is based on random procedures, probability sampling reduces bias and increases the likelihood that the sample will represent the population accurately. One common type of probability sampling is simple random sampling. In this method, every member of the population has an equal chance of selection. Imagine placing the names of all students in a box and randomly drawing names. Each student has the same probability of being chosen. Today, researchers often use computer-generated random numbers instead of manual selection. Another important method is systematic sampling. In this approach, the researcher selects participants at regular intervals from a list. For example, if there are 1,000 students and a sample of 100 students is required, the researcher may select every 10th student from the list after choosing a random starting point. A third method is stratified sampling. In many populations, different subgroups exist. These subgroups are known as strata. The researcher divides the population into relevant strata and then randomly selects participants from each group. For example, a university population may be divided into male and female students or into different academic departments. Samples are then selected proportionately from each subgroup to ensure proper representation. Another probability sampling technique is cluster sampling. Instead of selecting individual participants directly, the researcher divides the population into clusters and randomly selects entire clusters. For example, a researcher studying school students across a state may randomly select several schools and then collect data from students within those schools. Cluster sampling is particularly useful when populations are geographically dispersed. Now let us turn our attention to non-probability sampling. In non-probability sampling, not every member of the population has an equal chance of selection. The selection process depends on factors such as convenience, judgment, accessibility, or specific research needs. One of the most commonly used methods is convenience sampling. In this method, researchers select participants who are easiest to access. For example, a researcher may collect data from students available in a classroom at a particular time. Although this method is simple and inexpensive, it may not produce highly representative samples. Another type is purposive sampling. Here, researchers deliberately select participants who possess specific characteristics relevant to the study. For instance, if a researcher wants to study the experiences of successful entrepreneurs, only individuals with entrepreneurial experience will be selected. A third method is quota sampling. In this technique, researchers ensure that specific categories are represented in predetermined proportions. For example, a researcher may decide to include equal numbers of male and female participants. Unlike stratified sampling, however, selection within each category is not random. Another widely used method is snowball sampling. This approach is particularly useful when studying hard-to-reach populations. The researcher begins by identifying a few participants and then asks them to recommend other individuals who meet the study criteria. This process continues until an adequate sample is obtained. Snowball sampling is often used in studies involving specialized professional groups or hidden populations. The choice of sampling method depends on several factors, including research objectives, available resources, population characteristics, and desired level of accuracy. Probability sampling is generally preferred when researchers seek high levels of representativeness and statistical generalization. Non-probability sampling may be more appropriate when resources are limited or when the study focuses on specific groups with unique characteristics. Researchers must also determine the appropriate sample size. A sample that is too small may not represent the population adequately, while an unnecessarily large sample may waste resources. The ideal sample size depends on factors such as population size, research design, variability of data, and the level of precision required. It is important to understand that sampling always involves some degree of error because conclusions are being drawn from a subset rather than the entire population. This is known as sampling error. Researchers attempt to minimize sampling error by selecting representative samples and using appropriate sampling techniques. Sampling offers several advantages. It reduces research costs, saves time, simplifies data collection, and allows researchers to conduct studies that would otherwise be impossible. However, poor sampling methods can lead to biased results and inaccurate conclusions. Therefore, careful planning is essential. Consider a practical example. Suppose a researcher wants to investigate the impact of online learning on university students across a country. Studying every student would be impractical. Instead, the researcher may divide universities into regions, randomly select universities from each region, and then choose students from those institutions. Through proper sampling, meaningful conclusions can be drawn without studying the entire population. To conclude, population refers to the complete group that a researcher wishes to study, while a sample is a smaller subset selected from that population. Sampling is the process of selecting participants for research. Sampling methods are broadly classified into probability sampling and non-probability sampling, each with its own advantages and applications. A carefully selected sample enables researchers to collect reliable data, make valid conclusions, and conduct research efficiently. Thank you, scholars. In the next lecture, we will discuss data collection methods in research, including observation, interview, questionnaire, schedule, focus group discussion, and experiment, and learn how researchers gather information for scientific investigation.